So how does the shepherd know what the status of our heart is? How does the shepherd know what the status of our heart is? It's really very simple according to the passage, according to the words of Jesus. These aren't my words, these are Jesus' words. He says this, I look to see how you treat, how you orient your heart, how you interact with the least of these. How, for example, does someone treat people who are in need financially? The poor in need of food or drink or clothing? How does someone respond to the person in social need? The stranger, the awkward person, the one that nobody really wants to hang out with because they talk and they talk and 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 talk. We've all got people like that in our lives, don't we? How does someone care for the person with medical needs, the sick and the vulnerable people in need of companionship and comfort? How does someone care for the person with the moral need, the criminal failure, in need of undeserved love and care? The clear message of this parable is very profound. Very, very profound, and it is this, that God so intimately identifies with the plight of people in heartfelt need that he says to care for them is to care for him. What? The profound truth, and you have to let it sink in, is that caring for the people in need in your life means that you are caring for your... That can't be true, can it? It is true. We begin with a question, I think. And the question is this: how do we begin to care like Jesus wants us to care? And I'm stepping on my own toes here, because most days I don't care like, oh, that sounded bad. I don't care like Jesus wants us to care. And it's really easy. I mean, I see a lot of educators out here. How about the depth and the breadth of the need that's in front of you? And if you allow yourself to be open to it, it is quite simply overwhelming. Our member care team at church, they are open, they're wide open to caring for and helping the needy and the poor in our church. And it is overwhelming when you get to it. So how do we begin to care like Jesus did? We say, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the patience or the love to solve the problems of all the stray dogs that are trying to follow me home. I've got a family and a lot of work to do. I've got responsibilities. Heck, I'm retired. I can't handle the flood of people and problems that would overwhelm me if I opened my heart to all the people in need around me. And you're right. So, WWJD, what would Jesus do? And he provides us kind of a model for action. Jesus didn't heal every person he met in those crowded villages, or fill every hungry belly with food, or save every lost and lonely soul. You know what Jesus did? Jesus did not allow the size of the need to stop him from caring for a few people. But he's Jesus. How come he couldn't help? Even Jesus understood. And the title that Jesus has for himself in this parable, the Son of Man, which expresses God's humanity through Jesus, Son of Man. He knew that he couldn't help everyone in that current situation. In the parable of the sheep and the goats, Jesus doesn't hold his followers responsible for eliminating all hunger, thirst, homelessness, illness, or crime, but he does call us to be people who respond to the still small voice of the Holy Spirit to care. Here, and a lot of you really care, and you care for people. There are lots of different types of least of these people out there. There are people who have great emotional needs that require a lot of attention. And I'm going to tell you right now, you do not have the capacity to help more than one really needy emotional person in your life. There are professionals in our church who deal with people who have deep-seated emotional problems, and they only have the capacity to deal with a few of them at a time. Deal with the people that God has placed within arm's reach of you. Help them as best you can. Stay engaged with them. Through our church, we feed the hungry in our community. You were a part of the big team that fed over 21,000 individuals through the ministry of the food pantry last year. It's ridiculous that a church our size would be able to do that. You're punching way over your weight class when it comes to feeding the hungry and caring for those who don't have enough to eat in our community. So here's what we find. Instead of finding ourselves complacent to the problems of this world and unseeing of the issues that surround us, we find ourselves looking at them like Jesus did. We find that it's disrupting, right, and disturbing for us to open our hearts to people in need. But that's what Jesus wants us to do. Period. There's one thing that's even scarier than being overwhelmed, I think, by the need that people have in our lives. The only thing more terrifying than responding to that still small voice within our hearts that says dare to care more for somebody is learning to ignore that murmur altogether and in the process losing the heart of Jesus. In this sense, removing Jesus' heart from yours instead of syncing your heart up with Jesus' heart. I was reading an article that Billy Graham wrote back in the early 80s, and he was talking about the need, the spiritual need, and the physical need meeting up, and the church being able to meet those needs. And here's what he said: "For in this darkness, Jesus' love will show us the way." You don't know what to do. You don't know how to do it. Pray that Jesus' love will inform your actions. What do we say? We say it all the time. Life is better when you're following Jesus, and you're better at life when you're following Jesus. Jesus calls you to take care of yourself and your family first, and then to care for those in your sphere of influence. I mean, I get this all. If you let your priorities get out of whack, you can drown really fast in the needs of others. Jesus says, you take care of your family. You take care of the people that I've given you, that you've chosen to take care of in this life. And you take care of them well. And then you open up your arms to the next layer of people.